That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
That's the thing about wrestling. It doesn't end. But that's the thing about life, too. And yeah, I left stuff out, but you don't remember everything. Humans crave melodrama. They crave fiction. When you're sitting alone and texting, it's because you're bored. Our imagination is our greatest gift and our greatest curse because we're bored all the time. And that's what fiction does for us. It gives us a sort of simulator for bigger stories and bigger emotions. That's what Lord of the Rings is. That's what Phantom of the Opera is. That's what Goodfellas is. That's everything. It's us watching and feeling. The human capacity for empathy through imagination. That's why we have stories. Triple H is a great character in fiction. Told over 2 decades. A snob who had a chip on his shoulder that he could never let go. And just wanted to be the best. But never could be that without cheating. Finally selling out to the point that if he can't be the champion, he'll choose the champion. And that's what you need, man. That's what we all want. From Long John Silver to Perseus to Neo to Walter White. We love watching people grow, change, struggle. Good people, bad people, we don't care. We want to see it, man. We need entertainment and we need it now. And when you watch wrestling, that's what you get. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of wrestling sucks. But when it's good, it's fucking great. Wrestling is melodrama. Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
Time to chop my diamond now. You can't see me, my diamond down. It's the fine time of my time now. You can't see me, my time now. Can't forget my fella, my nanny, what Michelle. And we can't burn when the thing, when the jello. Ain't give me, it means that the fellow. And the walk in and the man that the quello. She butter, a wine that the butter. Yeah, when that one, I need motherfucker. And love what I say to the jello.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 15 for today, Monday, March 23rd. My name is Dave. I'm your host. Don't forget to check out Around the Ring on our homepage, aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at AroundTheRingOK. And you can also check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/AroundTheRingOK. You can also send us an email. Love to hear from you, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. Around the Ring OK is available on a couple different platforms. You can hear us on our homepage. You can also check us out on K98talk.com, on the Spark Radio Network, which you go to sparkradionetwork.com/AroundTheRingOK, or one of my favorite places, the United Podcast Network, which is formerly the Shoot Wrestling Network, and their website is unitedpodcasts.weebly.com. Again, that is unitedpodcasts.weebly.com, and I'm pulling that up to verify that now, yes, unitedpodcasts.weebly.com. On there you can hear a ton of shows, including yours truly, the 3C podcast, another wrestling podcast, the Too Sweet podcast, Pro Wrestling Nation, Marking Out, Wrestling with Ideas, Wrestling Ropes Break, and a bunch of others. Great stuff. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of nothing but pro wrestling talk shows. Can you imagine the awesomeness of that? But yeah, check it out. UnitedPodcasts.weebly.com, and Yeah, so this week in wrestling, we've got some tragedy to talk about. We're going to talk about the Pedro Aguayo Jr.'s death down in Mexico. We're also going to talk a bit about the Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video, which was fantastic. We're going to go into my WrestleMania 31 predictions and Lucha Underground, yet again, redefining the game that is pro wrestling. So strap in. God, did I really just say that? Anyway, so here we go. First up, let's get the sadness out of the way. As many of you are probably already aware, wrestling had a tragic death this week in Pedro Aguayo Jr., and for some reason I have the hardest time pronouncing this poor gentleman's name, and for that, please forgive me. He was in a match in Tijuana in the wrestling for the Crash promotion. He wrestles for AAA, but he was on an indie gig in a match that included Tigre Uno from TNA, Rey Mysterio Jr., and Manic, also from TNA. And I can't remember the other names that those gentlemen go by. But there was... Essentially, he fell out of the ring at one point, came back into the ring, took a drop kick, hit the rope, slumped over, and Rey Mysterio went to deliver a 619, which he noticed in the process of doing the move that not everything was right, so he did not connect with Pedro, thankfully. Checked on him. It was a few minutes before Pedro was brought medical attention. The ring doctor was unfortunately in the back tending to someone else who had gotten hurt that night, and he passed away. The autopsy has not been done. There's been initial talk, or at least as of this recording, I haven't heard of any autopsy news. Not that I'm the end-all and be-all of wrestling news by any chance, but I have been spending some time this morning trying to see if there's any new updates, and I haven't found any. But essentially, it looks like it was either some kind of stroke or heart attack brought on by spinal injury that most likely occurred when he either hit the apron falling out of the ring or hit his neck on the ring rope. But we're not going to know for a long time, probably. But it's a tragic death. The man was 35 years old. He'd been in the business since he was 15, and ironically, his first match was against Rey Mysterio, or Rey Mysterio was in the ring with him at the time. It's just horrible. And the news came out, I want to say it was either Friday or Saturday, and I happened to be online, and the news just blew up, and it was all over, and you saw tons of videos. There are so many videos out there, and there are lots of jackasses saying stupid things like, Rey Mysterio killed this guy. There's even talk of it possibly being a murder investigation down in Mexico. What it is, I think, is we can all agree on, it's a horrible freak accident that unfortunately just happened. When, people go out there and they put their bodies on the line, their lives on the line in the way that they do in not only wrestling, but in MMA and boxing and football and soccer and almost every sport. There's the serious possibility of you getting effed up, and this poor gentleman unfortunately lost his life, and it's horrible and it's sad. The WWE has responded, or at least Stephanie McMahon and Triple H have both sent out tweets sending condolences to the family. We'll see if tonight on Raw, if they do anything, any memorial. Hopefully they will. One thing that, or at least in years past, I remember WCW doing that. Anytime someone passed away, whether or not they were signed to WCW or not, they would put a little, in memory of, right at the beginning of the show, showing a picture of the individual. I remember that distinctly with Owen Hart. When Owen Hart passed away, WCW put something on the screen, and to my knowledge, Owen Hart had never really even wrestled in WCW or any of the NWA organizations that became part of WCW. They had a pretty old black and white picture of him. So there's no reason to think, I'm hoping that WWE wouldn't do something as well granted, of all the criticisms people can really lay on WCW, the one thing I don't think that organization really was spiteful. But the WWE is, and there have been a number of times when people have passed, and they should have done, and in memory of, just a little graphic at the beginning of the show. That's all you have to do, and they didn't. They didn't do that with Sean O'Hare, for example, when he passed away. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll do the right thing and start being more conscious of that stuff, whether or not someone is wrestling for them or has ever wrestled for them. It doesn't matter. If you're a big name in the business, then you deserve a moment. So yeah, and as the biggest organization, they're the best people to pay homage and pay respects to someone. So hopefully they do. But again, sad, horrible situation. And yeah, well, enough about that. Before we get on to the shows this week, I did also want to talk about Max Landis's amazing Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video that he put out, which I played a couple clips of at the beginning of the show. Max Landis, for those of you who don't know, is a Hollywood writer-director. He's probably at this point most well known for writing the movie Chronicle, which I have yet to see, which apparently is really, really good. But in this, he basically talks about Triple H and Triple H's career and how wrestling is really great storytelling, and on so many things he hits a nail on the head. His breakdown of Triple H, saying that what basically Triple H is a B+ player who has been the guy beside the guy, was spot on, and it was a lot of fun. The stuff about John Cena was great. What I loved is that he really hit what I think are the high points of Triple H's career. The blue blood thing, and then these are the important benchmarks in Triple H's career. DX, the Shawn Michaels leaving him, taking over DX, his leaving DX, the feud with Chris Benoit, and how he just kind of looked down at Benoit, Evolution, and then the whole thing with Daniel Bryan, and the Undertaker matches, and it's just extremely well done. And the thing, I'd admittedly never knew much of anything about Max Landis before this, and I've watched a bunch of his videos since then, and I really like the guy. I think he really is. He's smart. He's funny. And I think he gets it. He gets storytelling. He gets comic books. He gets myth. I kind of disagree with him on his criticism of Man of Steel and the destruction of Metropolis in a different video, but whole other story. But he really gets wrestling, and he puts it in a way that is fantastic. And if you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor, go watch it. It is great. In fact, I will make sure to include the link to it in the description of the episode today, at least on our homepage, so that way you can check it out, because it's beyond worth watching. It's 24 minutes, but it is hilarious, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely do yourself a favor and check that out. So before we get into WWE, because we'll do that last, and when I get to my predictions and everything, Lucha Underground this week. Here we've got an organization that is unlike any other wrestling organization, quite possibly ever. It's filmed like a TV series. It's treated like a TV series. It's kind of as far as I know, it's like a dual ownership between AAA and the El Rey Network. It looks amazing. Robert Rodriguez, who's one of the El Rey Network founders, I think, is one of the executive producers. It looks like one of his films. And they have some of the best talent in the freaking world. And this week, we had just two unbelievably great matches. One was Aerostar and Drago in their third match in their best of 5 that had... did Aerostar win? Yeah, I think... God, I've slept since then. It's... if I'm not mistaken, Aerostar won, but it was a fun match. And, the guys shook hands at the end. It was a really good match. Which is exactly what we'd expect from these two guys. But what Lucha Underground is doing so well really is summed up in the casket match, or what they call grave consequences. And this match was Mil Muertes against Phoenix. And it was easily the best casket match I've ever seen. Probably the best casket match ever. I'm not a huge fan of these matches. Daniel Bryan and Kane had a really good one a couple months ago or maybe it was only a month ago on SmackDown. But, they're a gimmick match. But this one was amazing. These two guys tore each other up. By the end of it, Phoenix, his mask was ripped off and tattered in shreds, bleeding like crazy. Could have done without the blood myself. They're special, and what I really could have done without it was the moments where Mil Muertes was biting Phoenix's cut. That was really gross. But it was a unbelievably brutal match, and so much fun to watch. And these guys left it all out there. It's a hell of a main event, match of the week. It's going to be one of the match of the years. When people start putting together a list of match of the year, it's going to be up there damn near every list. And if it's not, people are crazy. It's... it's funny. Lucha Underground goes in and they really put their own spin on things, but then they take something that's pretty standard, cage match, casket match, things of this nature, and they give them new twists, and they make them fun and unique, and that's something special. The people there booking it, everything is just absolutely perfect in the way this is done, and I cannot say enough good things about the show, just in general, and this match specifically. These folks know how to put on a great wrestling show, and hopefully the number of viewers will continue to grow. Hopefully they'll be able to expand. I really hate that the only place I can find Lucha Underground is online. I would gladly sit through commercials and watch the show on, Hulu Plus, or watch it on, even if El Rey had put on their website, kind of like Ring of Honor does. You can watch Ring of Honor episodes on Ring of Honor's website. You just have commercial breaks. I don't mind that. I would actually watch it more religiously if it wasn't always a week behind. So I don't get to keep up with Ring of Honor as much as I'd like to. But yeah, so that's my only real complaint, is I feel like I'm cheating El Rey and Lucha Underground by watching it online. I mean, I do talk about it on this show for my faithful 40, the 40 people who tend to listen to this show every week, which for you, thank you, and God bless you for putting up with my yammerings. And if you guys haven't figured out by now, I am the master of the self-deprecating humor. I'm very self-effacing. I will make fun of myself constantly. So if you haven't figured that out by now, that's just the way I am. And if you think it's bad here, you should go back and listen to old episodes of Finding Common Ground with me and Rowdy Ricky Robinson before my schedule changed. That's the one of the political shows K98talk.com does. It's actually the one that kind of started the whole thing, he and I. And totally talking trash about myself all the time in there. But I digress. Anyway, Lucha Underground. The point is, I want to be able to watch this and know that they're getting advertising dollars for it, and I feel bad that they're not. So yeah, maybe at some point I'll buy a shirt or something. It's a great show. It deserves our support, and it is consistently every week tied for the best wrestling show. It comes down to between it and NXT every single week. This week it was the best show. We'll talk about NXT here in a little bit, but yeah, Lucha Underground, I can't say enough good things about it. It is the kind of place to be. It's the show to watch, and if you're not watching it and you're a wrestling fan, then you're missing out on something special. So hop to it, go watch that. So yeah, let's one other thing before we get into any WWE stuff. I did watch part of Impact this week, and another one. I don't have cable, so I watch it online. And so here's the deal. There was a match on Impact that Kurt Angle against Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight title. Heard so many good things about this match. Match of the year contender, all this stuff. So I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And, there's just something about TNA. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the six-sided ring. I don't know what. But I found myself fast-forwarding through most of the match. And it was it was good. And I would love to see those two guys somewhere else. Be it WWE, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, somewhere else. Somewhere in a program that makes me actually want to care, because TNA, I'm sorry, I don't give a rat's ass about what you've got going on. There are a lot of guys on your roster that I think are awesome, and I try. God bless you. I try hard to watch your shit, and I just can't. It bores me. I fast forward through it, and hell, even right now I should be doing homework. I got a class, I got a bunch of stuff that's due this coming Sunday, haven't touched any of it. I really should be doing that instead of sitting in here talking to you guys. But, Faithful 40, I'm here. Every Monday we're going to do this thing, and yeah, but I try. And does anyone else out there have this issue with TNA? And I know I miss the glory days of TNA, as I've talked about before. But I'm trying. I really am, because I want TNA to succeed, and there are people on that roster that I really, really like. I just can't bring myself to watch full episodes without just fast forwarding. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe everyone else has just given up and stopped watching, because Lord knows, based on the ratings, that seems to be the case. It would be interesting, though, if they could get statistics from a lot of those websites where you can, all the stuff is streaming, to see how many people are watching them on there. Not that helps for advertising, but it would just be something interesting to find out. But yeah, apparently it's an awesome. Well, what I saw of it, great match. Two guys who, Angle and Lashley, phenomenal athletes. The build up to it, the little walking out, the way they filmed it looked cool. But yeah, and even that tag team title match that was a 3-way Ultimate X style tag match for the titles. Yeah, I just couldn't even get into that. And that had the Wolves, who are one of the best tag teams in the world. So yeah, TNA, I'm sorry, can't do it. So let's now jump to NXT, and as usual, I get moving kind of fast on this show, so sorry about that. But I do just end up saying what I need to say and then move on. But NXT this week, we had another, as always, fun episode. We had the Alex Riley versus Kevin Owens match, which was just Kevin Owens destroying the guy. Tyler Breeze had a match against Kalisto that was a lot of fun. But the best part was the end when... and Colin Cassidy and one of the tag team champions, Wes Blake or Murphy, can't remember which one he was against. But that was a fun match. Mostly because Colin and Enzo are so freaking good. Cass and Enzo are amazing on the mic. Damn it, where was I going with this? Oh, the big part. So Kevin Owens destroys Alex Riley and is about to give him a powerbomb onto the apron when Finn Balor comes out and says, no, you're not going to do this. And the room they were in was a really different setup. There was almost kind of this ledge that was higher than the ring where they come out. And so you have to picture Owens is down by the ring on the floor with Riley about to give him a powerbomb on the apron. Balor's up on this ledge where the entrance is. And Owens is basically like, okay, walks off, turns around, goes to give the powerbomb anyway. And Finn Balor just launches himself off this ledge, attacks Owens. They kind of have a little mini battle, and then Owens runs. They battle a bit. Balor hits the drop kick into the corner. It's setting up for the coup de grace. Owens runs. And the best part, it was just so freaking brilliant, and it's one of those little moments. And sometimes it's those little moments, not just in wrestling, but in movies and TV shows that are really what stand out. But as he's running around the ring to go grab his title and get out of there, he happens to run by Alex Riley and just gives him one last kick. And it was just such a heelish, asshole-ish thing to do. And it was just perfect for that character. So next week, or this week I should say, this Wednesday, we have the Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor NXT title match. That should be awesome. The other big NXT news is, as part of WrestleMania week, and I want to say it's on Friday night, they are having a tournament to send an NXT star into the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. The tournament is going to be Adrian Neville, Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, and Tyler Breeze. So it'll be really interesting to see who they end up sending. I suspect it is going to be Adrian Neville going in, because whoever it is not going to win the Battle Royal. And I'll get to my prediction of who wins the Battle Royal in a second. Because if they send, here's the deal, if they send Balor is special. Balor needs to come in with a blaze of fire and glory. And if they just do this with him, for him to show up and lose, it's an absolute waste. Adrian Neville is a phenomenal talent, but is probably never going to reach that level that Balor reaches, and so it won't hurt his career as much to do that. Same thing with Tyler Breeze. If Tyler Breeze wins it, he could go out there, have a great performance, and not be hurt by getting eliminated from the thing. But Balor, on the other hand, really could. And Hideo Itami, I don't think is ready yet, so I doubt they're going to send him. He's not ready. Let me rephrase that. He's beyond ready in the ring. His English skills probably aren't ready yet for him to hit the main roster. And yeah, I hate saying that, but it's kind of the truth. But he's getting better. And I can't wait for him to eventually hit the main roster. But I suspect we're going to get Adrian Neville thrown into that Battle Royal. We'll see how that goes. And that gets us to Raw and SmackDown for this week. The thing, Raw overall was boring as hell until the last 5 minutes. So they were going to have this match between Orton and Rollins, and there was a whole lot of flim-flam going around, pretty stupid. But basically, the point is, the authorities surrounding the ring going to go after Orton, who has a chair. Lights go out, Sting appears. Sting and Orton kick ass. And you get a Stinger splash. Stinger hits a Scorpion Death Drop on one of J&J. Great standoff against Triple H, where Sting's pointing the bat. And Sting was on fire. He looked great. So for all these people worrying about this 50-some-odd-year-old man coming out and having a shitty match, being told to do this, the dude looked awesome. He had a t-shirt on, but his physique looks good. He's going to kill it, I think. But then the best part was after Raw went off the air, there was a special on the network, which is all of about 3 minutes, a quick interview with Orton and Sting, with Michael Cole in the ring. And Orton starts out by saying, "Hey Sting, I know you're new around here, but just so you know, I'm not the kind of guy who really needs help." That having been said, that was pretty damn cool. And they shake hands and Orton leaves. Michael Cole asks Sting about, being in a WWE ring, and Sting takes the microphone and cuts a phenomenal promo. It's a short one, but his energy and his charisma to this, he's so good. And he said something basically along the lines, "It's been 14 years, and I'm gonna kick Triple H's ass." And he was so on fire. The crowd was eating it up. And for all the people who say, Sting's not a draw, Joey Numbers, I'm talking to you. Sting is a draw. And Sting, I think, had he been in WWE in the late 80s and in the 90s, would have been huge. Had he come in, apparently, and now, granted, you got to take the story with a grain of salt because it comes from Hulk Hogan, but Hogan apparently went to Vince McMahon after WrestleMania 3 and pitched saying, "Hey, we need to hire this guy Sting. I'm going to turn heel, and he needs to be the one to come after me." Sting wouldn't leave WCW, or what would become WCW at that point. And so it never happened. Now, again, it's Hulk Hogan, so it's probably a bunch of horse manure. But I think had Sting been in the WWE in his prime, it would have been something special. Because here's the deal: WWE had always been better at making stars than WCW had been, and this is even going back to the NWA days, because it was really in so many cases, even toward the end, WCW, the NWA, Crockett, all of that, it was still very much an old school mentality promotion. It was very much still based in the territories, and making stars was totally different in that era and in that mentality and in that environment than in the more modern televised Hulk Hogan WrestleMania environment that Vince McMahon helped to create. So you've got a guy like Sting, who was WCW more than anyone else, more than Ric Flair, more than Arn Anderson, more than the Four Horsemen, more than the Road Warriors, more than Lex Luger, more than anyone. Sting was WCW. He never left. He was unbelievably loyal, and he stayed through thick and thin. And that says something about the character of the man, and also says a lot about the environment he wanted to work in. He didn't come to WWE at the end, when he could have. A lot of it because he didn't trust them. He didn't trust their booking. He looked at the way that WCW guys were treated, looked at the way Booker T was just buried, and he said, I can't trust these people. Screw it. And he went to TNA. And TNA has been a company that truly still has that old territory mentality. They had AJ Styles, for Christ's sake. Think about the homegrown talent that TNA has had. AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, Austin Aries. Why aren't these guys huge? Why aren't these guys household names? Had any of those guys been signed to WWE, they would have been, if not main eventers, upper mid-card level guys, huge stars. And it's because TNA just doesn't have the right mentality. Just something was wrong, and they can't make stars, just like WCW couldn't make stars, other than Sting. WCW essentially made a handful of stars. They made Sting, Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T, and Goldberg, and that was it. In all honesty, those were the ones that WCW made. And Goldberg had a pretty sad run in WWE. Booker T had a hell of a run in WWE. Definitely a star. Booker T, Harlem Heat, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Diamond Dallas Page also did not have a very good run in WWE because they didn't. That was, WWE just didn't use certain guys right, and they never have. But a guy like Sting, they could have, because you don't screw up a guy like Sting. So when people say he's not a draw, he didn't draw for WCW, he didn't draw for TNA, I blame more of that on those organizations than I do on Sting. He's wildly popular. And the fact that he had this crowd eating out of his hand, a WWE crowd, a crowd that was, when he battled Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Heavyweight title back in 1997, a lot of the people in that audience on last Monday, weren't alive. We're very small children. So that's the charisma, that's the power that this man has. And it's going to be great, and I think he and Triple H are going to tear it up. The other thing that, as far as wrestling is concerned, the thing on Raw that was the best was there was a 6-man tag match, which with everyone from the Intercontinental Ladder match except for R-Truth participating, and that was a lot of fun to watch. Then we had on SmackDown, there was a gauntlet match between everyone except Bad News Barrett, who's going into the ladder match. It started out with, it was Dean Ambrose and Stardust, I believe. And yeah, it was Dean Ambrose and Stardust. Dean won. Then R-Truth came out. Dean beat R-Truth. Luke Harper came out. Luke Harper beat Dean Ambrose. Daniel Bryan came out, and Daniel Bryan beat Luke Harper. And then Dolph Ziggler came out, and Ziggler beat Bryan in just a fantastic match. And it was one of those matches, kind of like that first Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville match, where that they were holding back. This Bryan Ziggler match, it's like you watch it was great, but you're like, they're not going all in this. They are saving some of this up. And the Intercontinental title match in WrestleMania is going to steal the show, I think, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'll get into that in a minute. They're trying to do some stuff with the tag team situation, but really, here's how many tag teams we've got on the main roster: Kid and Cesaro, the New Day, the Ascension, Los Matadores, and the Usos. 5 tag teams. 5. That is all. So if then we think about NXT, you've got Cass and Enzo, Wesley and Blake and Murphy, and the Lucha Dragons, and the Vaudevillains. There's not even 10 tag teams between NXT and the main roster. But there was just a ridiculously stupid interspecies match, and who writes this shit? I don't know. But it was Kid and Cesaro and Natalya against Los Matadores and El Torito. And it was, it was what it was. Here's the sad thing. Los Matadores, those guys can actually wrestle. Those guys can go, but no one's going to take them seriously. Hell knows I don't. Couple of jobbers. Yikes. And every time I see them in the actual tag team title race, I just shake my head in disgust and disbelief, thinking, why the hell are they doing this? These guys are jobbers. It's funny, though, to see that the Ascension is nowhere near the tag title situation right now. Hell, I haven't seen the Ascension on TV in like a month. Oh, and I forgot the Titus O'Neil and what's his face? Darren Young. They're a tag team as well. But yeah, and there was also some really good setups for the Mizdow split. And Damian Mizdow is he's just great. So yeah, that was WWE Raw SmackDown this week. As always, here's the thing: we've gotten to the point. The main event situation. Oh, and I forgot to talk about this. There was a Brock Lesnar video talking about his match with Roman Reigns, and it was great. Why they haven't been doing more of these little interviews with Lesnar, I don't know. There was also a really good promo. It was actually Roman Reigns' best promo, I think, ever, with Paul Heyman. Heyman was talking about, how Reigns can't beat Lesnar, blah, blah, blah. Reigns comes out with an I Can, I Will shirt on, which I actually kind of like the shirt myself. And Reigns was fantastic. Cut the best promo I've ever heard him do. And he was confident, he was badass, it was great. But you look at the situation, you look at the upper card, the main event tier, and then the mid card, especially the upper mid card tier, and it's almost kind of it's kind of sad because you've got, so in the main event you've got Orton, Rollins, Lesnar, Reigns, Kane, Big Show. Probably throw Mark Henry in there, and of course Sting and Triple H, and you really, in a way you could consider Bray Wyatt and Undertaker in there, but I really don't. They're kind of off in their own little world. But that's the main event situation right now, and there's some great talent in there, but overall, you get the same combination of people in matches over and over and over. It gets really boring. Then you've got the upper mid card, which is Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Bad News Barrett, Stardust, basically all the guys in the Intercontinental title hunt. Damian Mizdow, The Miz. And these guys are having entertaining as hell matches. These guys are doing great stuff in the ring, with the exception of The Miz. He blows. But that's where it is, man. And just like Daniel Bryan said in a promo, I guess the week before last, where he talked about how what was going on in the Intercontinental title situation when he was a kid was so much more entertaining than what was going on in the world title situation. And that was one of the reasons why he wanted to, be part of the Intercontinental title match and be in that. So yeah, it's when I watch these shows, I'm watching it for that group of guys, because that's where it really is at. So let's go ahead and get on to the WrestleMania predictions before we head out of here, because oh my god, I've already been talking for like 40 minutes. Damn. Anyway, so WrestleMania 31, one of the absolute worst build-ups to a WrestleMania ever. But the card itself, well, we're all going to piss and moan about the build-up and everything, but when you really look at the card, it's actually pretty damn good as far as potential wrestling matches. So we're going to start off with the pre-show, and why this isn't on the show itself. We've got a 4 fucking hour show, and on the 4 hour show we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. Now granted, I'm assuming a lot of these are going to go pretty long. 8 matches in 4 hours. We couldn't really get a tag team title match in there too. But the pre-show tag team title match, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd will be facing Los Matadores, the New Day. New Day! Speaking of, those guys really just need to get pissed and come out and do the whole Malcolm X thing, but I digress. And the Usos, the Usos might not be there. Jay, I want to say, one of the Uso brothers has recently had an injury, and he may be out for a while, so it may just end up being, instead of a fatal 4-way, a triple threat. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, I think, are going over. There's no reason at all for them to lose the tag team titles. The Usos are the only team legitimately who are legitimate, other tag team champions at this point. And they've won it, 2 or 3 times? Now, let's let Kidd and Cesaro hold on to this. I'd like to actually see Kidd and Cesaro hold on to this thing for a year. Let's give them some time. Let's build up the tag team division. Let's bring in the Lucha Dragons. Let's bring in Cass and Enzo. Let's bring in Blake and Murphy. Let's bring in the Vaudevillains. Let's actually amp up this tag team division. And if at all possible, let's sign the Wolves. Let's sign the Young Bucks, which isn't going to happen. But, my pipe dreams, we could do that. And then we could finally have a division that has, some actual realistic competition. We'll see, though. But I suspect Kidd and Cesaro are going over. We've got Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. This is going to be a hell of a good match, and I'm really looking forward to it. I tell you what, I really prefer Randy Orton as the tweener babyface to Randy Orton the corporate stooge. He's just a much better character, much more fun. He's still a dick. The fact that he's still just a raging, conceited a-hole hasn't changed. But just the way, it's just better. So I'm thinking Orton is going to go over. Randy needs a big win right now. Seth Rollins still has the Money in the Bank briefcase, which I'm sure we're going to see him cashing in sometime very soon. And I think Orton goes over, and it's going to be a hell of a good match. We've got AJ Lee and Paige against the Bella Twins, Brie and Nikki. I guess the Bellas are going to win. I don't know what's going on with the Divas division right now. Nikki Bella has actually gotten pretty good in the ring. She's no Paige, she's no AJ Lee. And why we couldn't have a title match in this pay-per-view, I don't know. Probably just they're trying to get as many people on the card as they can, hence the Battle Royal, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, so I'm guessing I guess the Bellas ? So then we've got I think what's considered one of the main events of the night, maybe. Rusev defending the United States Championship against John Cena. And okay, so I suspect they're going to have Cena win and win the title. And there's a part of me that's okay with that if the point is to elevate the U.S. title. Just like I think with the ladder match, we're going to get, will help elevate the IC title. And if they do that to elevate, if they put the title on John Cena to help elevate the title and to give it more prestige, then I think that's a good thing. And I think they're going to put it on. I think they're going to have John Cena win. He lost last pay-per-view, so he's not losing 2 in a row, most likely. But I would prefer to see Rusev win. It would go against the grain. Everyone's expecting Super Cena to walk out of here with the title, so it would be really nice for him to not win the title. And it would be a cool moment for Rusev to actually get to win, and walk out with the belt. And then you've got So what I think this sets up a really good tiered system for the titles. It makes the IC title a more prestigious belt, and puts the US title as the kind of bottom rung, the mid card title. The IC title is the upper mid card on your way to the main event title, or on your way down from the main event. And then you've got the WWE World Heavyweight title, which is in the main event. Because in the long run, I don't want to see these two titles get unified. Someone had sent a question to the Solomonster on his show this week, proposing that Cena win the U.S. title, Bryan win the Intercontinental title, and then at SummerSlam have a unification match. I like the idea of both Bryan and Cena being those two champions, which I think is the way it's going to end up happening. But having those two guys as those workhorse champions, I think there's a lot worse that could be done. But I don't want to see those titles unified. I like having 3 titles for people to fight over, if it's booked right. And this is going back to something that WCW did very well, and Crockett did when it was the NWA, and then WCW did for at least up to the New World Order, and even through the early NWO years, is they had 3 singles titles. They had the World Television title, the US title, and the World Heavyweight title. And there was a pecking order. The World title was the main thing, US title was second, TV title was third. And you worked your way up into the TV title area. You became that champion. Then you could work your way up to the US title, and then to the world title. And I think that what WWE needs to do right now is keep 3 titles, book them well, but have it very defined tier, that the US title is a step below the IC title, and the IC title is a step below the world title, and have that very clearly marked out, and just keep all 3 of those titles going. It would be the best way to do it, in my humble opinion, which means I'm probably going to F it up and unify them and make it all bad. Because for years, the problem with WWE is they had way too many titles. During the brand split, it made sense. But, oh God, excuse me, sorry. Once brand split went away, having 4 titles was ridiculous. So they merged the world titles, which is the perfect thing to do. I hated it at the time. Being a WCW loyalist, I hated the big gold belt going away. I'm okay with that now. But the US title, I think, should be kept around. And if they're going to get rid of it, maybe replace it with a television title. But yeah, so I'm thinking Cena goes over in the US title match, but I'd rather Rusev win. That would be then a perfect time to bring in somebody the next night. Hell, maybe bring in Finn Balor and have him destroy Rusev the night after Raw, which would be cool. Okay, we got The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. This should be a lot of fun. I'm going to go with Bray Wyatt. I think that, this is another one. This is hard to tell. But I think Undertaker, who we know has no problems giving you guys a rub, giving Bray Wyatt the rub, helping maybe push him into that main event level. You could then see him, because he could... Okay, so if we propose... Let's do some fantasy booking. Let's say if Brock Lesnar re-signs with WWE and holds on to the title, Bray Wyatt beats The Undertaker. Wyatt can show up and say, you know what, Lesnar, I'm the only other guy to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Let's do this. You could have a hell of a feud. I would love to see those two guys go at it. And, maybe we will. My pick is Bray Wyatt. I think that's who is going to win. That's who I want to win. And, that sets up perfectly for Undertaker and Sting at WrestleMania 32 in Texas. And this is something that, again, Solid Monster, who, if you haven't noticed already, I'm a big Solid Monster Sounds Off fan, also a big Wrestling Soup fan. But Solid Monster proposed that Undertaker, loses to Wyatt, comes out and says, you know what, I'm done. I don't have it anymore. And Sting comes out and says, hold up one moment. We're not done. We're doing this at WrestleMania next year. Your last match, my last match. Let's go out together. And it would set it up beautifully. So, yeah, let's hope Bray Wyatt wins. We've got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal with basically everyone and their dog in this match. And, what I like about this is it gives so many people a chance to be on the card that probably wouldn't be otherwise. So that's a very good thing. I think Damien Mizdow wins and gets a big FU moment to The Miz, and that would be the way to go. So the match I'm looking forward to more than anything else, the Intercontinental title ladder match. Bad News Barrett against R-Truth, Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Dolph Ziggler, Stardust, and Daniel Bryan. I think Stardust was thrown into this because the powers that be didn't like the match he had with Goldust at the Payback pay-per-view, and so decided to not have their blow-off match, which is ridiculous. So him being in there is weird. But if you think about it, Harper and Ziggler already had a phenomenal ladder match at TLC. Dean Ambrose had a hell of a TLC match against Seth Rollins at the TLC pay-per-view. We know that Barrett and Daniel Bryan can both go, and R-Truth's going to be there for some comedy. Honestly, this has 4 of my favorite WWE wrestlers right now: Ambrose, Harper, Ziggler, and Bryan in one match. I think it's going to be a phenomenal match. I think Daniel Bryan's going to walk out with the IC title. It's the only title in WWE he hasn't won. It'll be a great feel-good moment, and it's something the crowd is going to need. It's going to be a hot, smart, huge crowd. And yeah, now I would be completely fine with Ambrose or Ziggler winning as well. I think one of those 3 guys has to win, because those are the 3 guys that need to kind of carry this division for now. Ziggler is probably not going any higher because the powers that be in the WWE are stupid. Daniel Bryan, same thing. Dean Ambrose, though, still has main event potential and possibilities. So this is the stepping stone for him, and I would love to see Bryan become the Intercontinental Champion, be a fighting champion. You could spend the rest of the year. You could have a program, a rematch against Bad News Barrett. He could have a program with Ambrose, Harper, Ziggler, the whole 9 yards. And you've got a year's worth of programs right there that are going to be just killer. So yeah, Daniel Bryan's my hope. And when he wins that match, I'm sure I'm going to jump up and down like a giddy schoolgirl. So 2 more to go. We got Sting versus Triple H. Sting wins this match. There's no reason for him not to. Triple H, as of late, has really become Jobber H, which is great. He's putting over young guys. He put over The Shield. He put over Daniel Bryan. And he's going to put over Sting. Now, Sting's not a younger guy, but it's the right thing to do. And then that will set up the Sting Undertaker match for next year. Because my whole fear with Sting coming into WWE and only having one match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania was that he would lose. And this was, back when a lot of this was originally being talked about. The streak wasn't broken, so it was just... everyone assumed The Undertaker was going to win at WrestleMania no matter what. And to me, it would be a tragedy for Sting to come in, have one match in WWE, and lose. I wouldn't put it past WWE, but that would be ridiculous. Because Sting is a legend and needs to be treated accordingly. So I guess we will we'll see what happens there. I think it's going to be a good match. Not as good as a match I could have had 10 years ago, but I think it's still going to be a good match. And Sting is going to get his WrestleMania victory and the win over Triple H, and it'll be awesome. I'm also going to mark out for that one like crazy. And then the main event, the very controversial main event, Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns. So much of this is going to hinge on whether or not today Brock Lesnar signs a new deal with WWE. If he does, I think they're going to keep the title on him. If he doesn't, then obviously they're taking the title off of him. I think that Roman Reigns is probably going to win this match. I think WWE is going to put the belt on him. Now, in this build-up to Reigns, had he been booked the way he was booked last Monday, fine. He would look like a complete badass. He would look great going into this. But he hasn't been booked that way. And it's a little too late for 2 weeks before for the things to finally start clicking. So my hope is Brock Lesnar wins. But, we'll see. I suspect Roman Reigns wins, but my hope is for Lesnar to walk away with it. And so that's pretty much it. One final thing, completely not wrestling related, but TV related. Something else happened this week. On this past Friday was the series finale of Glee, and I figured I'd put some thoughts out about that because I've been watching Glee for most of its entire run, and I'm a sappy romantic, and I've teared up damn near every episode of that show. A lot of season 5 was really not good, and they'd lost a lot of direction when the actor who played Finn Hudson passed away. It really messed things up for them and for the show, and understandably so. And they lost a lot of direction, but the finale was incredible. In that final moment, they were able to get every single person that had ever been in that Glee club back and for the final performance, and it was amazing. And I'm actually going to watch it again today. And I know I watched it last night with my kids, and I teared up a bit, but I know I'm going to watch it by myself and I'm probably going to cry like a baby. Glee was a show that I think worked exceptionally well because it embraced differences while saying, hey, we're all human, and look at this wonderful thing called music and the power that it has to bring people together. And I think that's an amazing thing. So yeah, I'm going to miss the show. It's this last season, the 6th season, was much better than the 5th one, and they really made up for a lot of the mishaps of the 5th season, and it was just one of the best shows in a long, long time, and groundbreaking, and it's going to be missed. I'm going to miss watching it. I will probably go back and rewatch it on Netflix at some point from start to finish. And at some point I will probably buy the entire thing on DVD because I really love it, and it's a show that, I connect to emotionally because, again, I'm an emotional sap and I love music. So things that connect music with life and heartache and pain and joy, something that really appeals to me. So yeah, thank you, Glee, for the 6 years and for all the memories. Well, hey, that is it for Around the Ring this week. I can't believe it has gone this long, and holy crap, over an hour. Wow. Sorry you had to listen to me babble for that long. So you can listen to Around the Ring each and every week on the Around the Ring homepage, aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. One of these years I'll get around to getting a better URL for that. You can also check us out on the Spark Radio Network at thesparkradionetwork.com/aroundtheringok. That's our little spot there on that handy-dandy website. We're also on K98talk.com. You can listen to us pretty much as soon as I upload this bad boy. It'll be there, part of the rotation on the Monday there until, it gets kicked off by all the other political shows we got going on the K98talk.com. And you can listen to us on one of the coolest places on the web, the United Podcast Network at United Podcast Network, it's unitedpodcasts.weebly.com. Check it out. You can shoot me an email, aroundtheringok@gmail.com, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions. I'd love to have some. It'd be nice to hear a question or two from time to time. You can follow the show on the Twitter at aroundtheringok, and you can like us on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/aroundtheringok. Again, we appreciate everyone listening, checking out the show, and hope everyone has a great week. And like Jerry Springer always said, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.